We asked our viewers to tell us which board games they've actually been playing, old favourites, the newest hotness, you might be surprised. We're counting down the games our viewers are playing up next in this month's People's Choice Top 10. Hello, I'm Matthew, and joining me to count down the 10 games our viewers are playing the most this month is Rodney.
That's right, I'm back again. I guess I wasn't fired after the last time I did People's Choice with you, which is good.
I figured out it would be just such an awkward conversation if I fired you that it wasn't worth having.
Could that happen? Could I be fired from the channel I started?
I think you could be ousted would be what would happen. I don't know if it'd be a straight firing.
Well, before that happens, maybe we should count down these People's Choice Top 10.
The list of games our viewers reported playing this month starts with Dice Throne, a fast-paced 2 to 6 player combat game, whether 1v1, 2v2, 3v3, 2v2v2, or perhaps the square root of 9 versus the lowest common denominator of 10 and 25 3 times. Or a free-for-all. You can tell Chaz wrote this. Select from a variety of heroes that play and feel completely distinct from one another, and Season 1 of the game was released in a single box that contains components for 6 heroes, while Season 2 was released in 4 small sets that each contain components for 2 heroes, as well as a battle chest that has 4 small sets. Heroes then can be mixed and matched across the seasons.
And viewer Colin P. rolls in saying...
I get it.
Yeah, I get it, rolling in. Very nice. I'm finally learning to play with my 8-year-old son. And Duchess1105 adds, this is my son's all-time favorite game. I'm not sure what he loves more, the game or completely destroying me repeatedly. I will say, as longtime viewers know, I have been destroyed many times by my own children, right here on this channel, very publicly, and they don't let me forget it.
Very publicly.
Actually, Luke just came home for a visit from university, and we played a game last night, and again, destroyed me. Utterly destroyed me.
He's even smarter now.
Yes, I know. That's right. He's getting even smarter. It's going to get worse for me.
Dice Throne is one of those fun games where you really do get to roll a lot of dice, and then they do really fun things.
Yes.
And it rewards you, or punishes me, for really going hard on your special move, which you essentially need a Yahtzee to get.
Yeah, exactly. It has that beautiful push your luck element. You can probably pull off a half-decent move by playing it safe, or you can swing for that big hit.
Which is why I lose.
This episode right here is brought to you in part by Unmatched, Houdini versus the Genie from Restoration Games. Unmatched is the critically acclaimed best-selling game of tactical combat between unlikely opponents. And now, with Houdini versus the Genie, Unmatched has its most magical set yet. The world's greatest illusionist uses masterful effects to confound his opponents, but the Genie brings raw power to the game, but will wind up back in its lamp if he pushes himself too far. As with every Unmatched set, these heroes can face off against fighters from other sets, making it a must-have for experienced players or a great entry point for new ones. Unmatched, Houdini vs. the Genie, is available for pre-order now at RestorationGames.com, so follow the link in this video's description to pre-order from Restoration Games and get a free Houdini foil promo card, and then make your own magical illusions.
Next up is Die Macht, a game about 7 sequential political races in different regions of Germany, and players are in charge of national political parties and must manage limited resources to help their party to victory, with the winning party having the most victory points after all the regional elections. There have been several editions of Die Macht, with the original 1986 edition featuring 4 parties from the old West Germany and supporting 3 to 4 players. The 1997 edition increases the player count up to 5, updates several rules, and takes place in the reunited Germany. And the 2006 edition also supports up to 5 players and adds a shorter 5-round variant, plus additional rules, updates by the original designer.
I love this comment from viewer Andrew S., who raves, German parliamentary elections? Oh yeah.
That's why I love board games.
Let me hear it. Why?
Because I've never played Die Macht and I really want to try it. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Well, this is what I think is fascinating about board game themes. I mean, how many people could have an interest in what Andrew say, German parliamentary elections? I mean, other than the entire country of Germany, but other than them and Andrew S., well, there are so many board game themes that I'm interested in that I would not buy a book or watch a movie for. You know, like I have so many farming games. I don't like go and buy an almanac. That's what farmers read, right? Almanacs. I do have an election game right here. The making of the president right behind me.
I was just about to mention that.
I'm not American. You're not American.
Thank God.
Amen. We just lost everybody.
I'm all for it. The next game gracing gamers' garrisons is Hadara, which, quote, carries players into the world of cultures and countries of this Earth, as opposed to an alternate Earth where it's upside down and cats are dogs and my Etsy store rakes in a profit. Experience the transformation of a new world from a small settlement to a high culture over 3 epochs. Populate the world with people who come from different cultures and continents as well as different ages, and accumulate glory and honor by skillfully selecting the persons and accomplishments that populate the player's planet, creating a new and flourishing high culture.
Viewer Kathleen L. says, we recently introduced my daughter to this game, and it's quickly become a family favorite. Lots of people playing games with their kids in the comments here. We love the set collection, the increasing level of challenge as we progress through the rounds, and the tension that comes from the decisions that need to be made each phase. Focus on culture so I can build a statue. Focus on military so I can conquer cities. But what about the people? I gotta have enough food to feed the people. It's such a great game. You know, this game is super, and actually it's one, I think I might remember that you did you do a review for this one, Matthew? I think you did.
I did, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what turned me on to it.
I thought it was really good. It's so interesting because you get to draw your cards, you take 2 and you put 1 back. And that's a great decision. Every card you get, you take 2 cards and you pick one, put the other one back, go up your track, you bump up the tracks, numbers get bigger, it's fun. But then phase B of each age is all the players get access to all the cards that were discarded.
Right.
So in phase B, if someone takes a card that really helps them, it's your fault because you probably put it there.
Yeah, exactly.
When someone else wins because it's my fault because I did the thing that let them win, oh, that's delicious.
Your excitement about it turned me on to it, and then I ended up doing a tutorial video for it. And I'm just putting that little self-promotion in here because I just want to prop up against potentially being fired. I just want to say, I do have value here still. Please don't get rid of me, since apparently that is a possibility.
Absolutely. 2012 called and left us a message about The Great Zimbabwe, a game about building a trade-based civilization in ancient Africa. It's been inspired by the old kingdom surrounding the Great Zimbabwe, a World Heritage Site in southern Africa, and the game uses history for its inspiration. However, first and foremost, the designers wanted to create a highly playable and replayable game, and they've stated that in many cases they took liberties with historical names, periods, and artwork.
Well, viewer S says, I'm sorry, but I can't leave a comment about the Great Zimbabwe right now. It has melted my brain and I'm incapable of speech. I haven't played this game. Have you played this one, Matthew?
I'll be honest, I have not, because of people's comments like that.
Well, you know, I think, listen, another self-plug. I did a tutorial video for Bus, which is from them as well. Again, please don't fire me.
Chaz has access to the YouTube channel, right? So he could probably change the passwords. I saw a drive-through review. Joel Eddy did a video on the Great Zimbabwe. He covers a lot of games like that. One day.
He is one of the strongest advocates for this game that I've heard, that I know. He brings it up with great fondness. So it has made me curious about the game, along with this comment from Andrew S. Maybe someday.
There's so many games on that someday list.
Yeah, there sure is. Many of them are sitting behind me right now.
Yeah, big time. We bought some together because we could play them.
Yes, we sure did. Yep, we sure did.
And now for Catherine, the Cities of the Tsarina, which takes 2 to 4 players in the Tsarist Empire of 1762 in order to win the Tsarina's favour with the help of the innovative card mechanism. Along the way, different strategies can lead to different goals. Do you devote yourself to the development of the fine arts or trade, or do you perhaps prefer to secure arms and thus perpetuate the empire? With each card they hold, players must decide whether to gain the resources or use the action on the card, or whether to throw in...
You're doing great.
Do you devote yourself to the development of the fine arts or trade, or do you perhaps prefer to secure arms and thus perpetuate the empire? With each card they hold, players must decide whether to gain the resources and use the action on that card, or whether to throw it away to activate another action. Doing your best will make Catherine so proud that she just may hang your portrait on the palace refrigerator.
Viewer Crystal Z beams, this game has so many mechanics that I adore. Bumping tracks, making routes on a map, and managing a hand of cards. It blows my mind that the rating on BGG isn't higher since it's a great game. You know, BGG ratings, I think they exist primarily just to confound us. But this one I think is maybe less of a mystery. The game, as I understand it, and the designer took an approach that is, I would say, very Russian-centric in its view of its relationship with Ukraine. And given what's going on in the world right now in the conflict, I imagine that a lot of people, this is not the kind of game they're looking to play right now, especially if you're Ukrainian or sympathetic to their situation. I haven't played the game. I'm not really familiar with it. But from the cover, and I think you'd mentioned this earlier when we were talking about it kind of looked like a war game, right? It made me think of other styles of war games.
I thought this was a war game.
Right.
When I found out it was a card management, largely abstracted game in the sense that there's also very little conflict in the game, frankly, other than the thematic nature of the game itself. There's not actually that much player interaction. I was like, oh, this is actually the exact opposite of what I assumed, which is a good lesson for us all, I suppose. Orbiting the next spot on our countdown is ISS Vanguard, which launches 1 to 4 players into a cooperative sci-fi adventure as they operate the first human ship with the capabilities of reaching outer space, and all the bizarre space shenanigans that are bound to accompany them on their journey. The game's campaign includes a unique story full of different player choices, twists, and branching storylines. Additionally, over 100 different crew members are available, each with unique characteristics. Try not to burn through all of your red shirts, though, in your first game. Just spread them out.
Good strategy. Spread them out.
Spread them out.
Viewer Tokemi says, such an amazing campaign game with superb voice acting through the app. The game really captures the feeling of playing Mass Effect as a board game. You care about the ship and its crew as they adventure through the wonders of space, finding new discoveries and sharing the unknown. You know, Matthew, I often feel like I don't need another big box campaign scenario game full of characters and stories, but the reality is I love them. I'm looking over here. I've got Descent Legends of the Dark. I've got my father's work here. I do love a game that plunks me in the middle of a story and makes me a character in it. Now, Matthew, I might be wrong, but I think that that's something that doesn't attract you quite as much in your board games, and yet I know you love RPGs. So am I right about that? Is there a bit of a difference?
There is a difference. Here's the thing. I don't want to read your board game, which is why I was interested. I was interested because I heard multiple people say that the voice acting on the app for this was really, really good and very immersive. So that interests me. Although, do you ever see a game and you think, man, Paula Deming would like this?
She live streamed playing Mass Effect, right? So a little plug for her so that when the ensuing coup happens here, maybe she'll be on my side.
I doubt it. Not with what she's been saying.
Oh, great. You're great, Paula.
This episode is made possible in part by Empire's End, coming to Kickstarter from Brotherwise Games in November. This is a civ building game, but a different kind of one. As the leader of a grand civilization at the height of its influence, it's up to you to save it from collapse by avoiding as many different disasters as possible. But sometimes, succumbing to those disasters may actually prove beneficial. In Empire's End, 2 to 4 players compete to keep calamity at bay by cleverly combining reverse bidding with engine building and long-term planning, giving the game a unique strategic depth. The result is a game with a quick tempo, abundant tension, and multiple challenging paths to victory. As disasters befall an empire, its people grow in wisdom and resilience and gain a new ability, an innovation that reflects their empire's ability to adapt in the face of challenging times. So follow the link in this video's description to be notified by Brotherwise Games when the campaign for the game launches, so you can get in on Empire's End right from the beginning.
Welcome to the most famed geisha street in the old capital, Hanamakoji. In the game, Hanamakoji, where 2 players compete to earn the favour of 7 illustrious geishas by collecting each one's preferred performance item. With careful speculation and a few bold moves, the most clever card contender can outsmart their opponent and win the favour of the geishas. And then they'll surely have the respect they need to start their own boat company.
And Amanda relishes the game's delightful two-player.
Before that.
What?
I mean, we know Chaz wrote this, but what on earth is he talking about with the boat company? Should we just leave that? Should we just let that go?
I just learned not to ask questions, Matthew. It just leads to more questions.
Gotcha.
Amanda relishes the game's delightful two-player experience. And Jonathan L. admits, I really never tire of this game. Love the strategy, love the theme, love the art. What's not to love? Well, lots of love coming for this game. Matthew, I don't know a lot about it, but you know how I could find out some information about it? I could go watch Monique and Naveen's Before You Play, where they both played and did a review of it. Again, just shoring up support amongst the other Watch It Played members here when the ensuing takeover is attempted.
It's not going to work. I tell you what, this is actually Hanama Koji. It's a fantastic game, and if you like stuff like Lost Cities and Battle Line, it's certainly reminiscent of those type of head-to-head kind of games.
I do.
Rodney, I suspect that you might be the head of a respected but troubled family estate in mid-19th century Victorian England. At least that's the premise of Obsession, a game in which players build a deck full of Victorian gentry, renovate their estate by acquiring building tiles from a centralised builder's market, and manipulate an extensive service of staff and butlers, housekeepers, under-butlers, maids, valets, footmen, over-butlers that under the under-butlers, and using these resources to successfully host prestigious social activities, including a player's wealth, reputation, and connections among the elite.
Boy, that kind of success back then sounds like a lot of work. I don't know. Viewer Philip S. says, what an elegant game that blends mechanics and themes so well. And Chris C. has been playing Obsession on BGA. As has Duchess1105, who adds, I'm obsessed with Obsession. Now that it's on BGA, I can't... By the way, BGA, for everyone who's watching, is Board Game Arena. I can't stop playing. Shh, don't tell my boss. Now, Matthew, I have to admit, I was guilty of playing some video games at my old job with the federal government.
Don't tell the Canadian government.
That's right. I'm long gone now. We would play Doom multiplayer, and you could get away with it pretty good until invariably somebody would just, you just hear a voice shout out from one of the cubicles, damn it, you got me.
God damn it.
And then, you'd have to sort of explain, like, I just mean, the budget. Damn, that budget got me again. I got to balance it.
It's these cuts. What am I meant to do with all these cuts? But I just hear so many good things about this, and now it's on Board Game Arena, and Paula, again, loves this type of Pride and Prejudice.
Yeah. You might just have to be a good friend and do it for her sake.
I don't want to be a good friend. It's so much work.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing. I've heard lots of great things about the game, and it does intrigue me. It does intrigue me. With so many people raving about it, that's something. There's so many games coming out all the time. It's impossible to play everything. But when you keep hearing about a game, especially long after it's released, that does say something, right? Because so many games come, and they do go. So, good on Obsessions. I'm curious. I might have to give that one a try, too.
I think so. Blooming at number 2 is Keyflower, a game in which each round represents a season, spring, summer and autumn, and finally winter. Yes, that is all of the seasons, thank you. Description of Keyflower. Each player starts the game with a home tile and an initial team of 8 workers, each of which is coloured red, yellow or blue. Workers of matching colours are used by players to bid for tiles to add to their villages. Matching workers may alternatively be used to generate resources, skills and additional workers, not only from the player's own tiles, but also from the tiles in other players' villages, and from new tiles being auctioned.
Viewer Mark...
Strange last name.
Viewer Mark W. confides in us that Keyflower is a wolf in sheep's clothing, literally. So if you're playing with the farmer's... sorry, I'm butchering this. Let me try again. Viewer Mark W. confides in us that Keyflower is a wolf in sheep's clothing. Literally so if you're playing with the farmer's expansion. Nuanced, interactive bidding and blocking never looked so sneakily pastoral. And Kathleen L. proclaims that Keyflower is always a classic. I have to get it out at least once a month. I just love this game. Matthew, there's 2 things I'm thinking of right now. One, what we just said before about Obsession, I continue to hear people talking about it. Well, here is a game that's got staying power too. Keyflower's been out for a long time, and still people are talking about this game, right? It just really has, it's one of those games that has hung around for a long while and really stayed with us.
It's a top 10 game for me, I think. It's one of my favourite games of all time. I love Keyflower. It's so good. And there's 2 expansions which I've never played, but one adds depth and one adds breadth, is how they're described. There's the Farmers and the Merchants expansions. But this game has had... It's one of those auctions. Well, I love this game. Sorry, I do. But there's... It's had some stand-up moments when I played this. I played it at a convention once, and everyone was just... standing up, tense, and just the bid. And then once you were in the putting the things out in your thing, so there's a stand up, everyone's excited about this auction, it's going crazy, everyone's like, ah, and then everyone sits down and goes, okay, now I'm going to put my tile here. Where does this go? It's like, no one talk! Shut up! Shut up! 6, oh no.
It's true, because many Euro games that are a little bit more on the thinky side, that is what the whole game is like. Like, it's that very kind of concentrated thinking, the whole thing. And this has this funny mix of those, like you said, stand-up moments, plus going back into your cocoon to think about it. I did not, thank you for mentioning about the tutorial. I didn't want to bring it up again, because I was thinking I'd have to fire myself for all the self-promotion I'm now doing. But it's one of those games that continues to get comments to this day as well. You know, many of the tutorial videos, they'll get comments a lot in the early days of it. This one continues to, because people are still continuing to discover and rediscover it.
If you could know what those games are going to be, what are the things in a game that make it one of those classics? If you could pinpoint that, distill it, pick me up. Rodney's going to need a job, so
right,
he could work at your company, and he could do the rules videos at least. We'd at least allow him to do that. He'd have to pay us some type of stipend for that, I feel like, because obviously we would own the intellectual property rights to that. But and we do own Rodney's face, which is an interesting contract which we made him sign.
I really got to go back to the small print of all of our relationships and make sure that things are shored up. I'm scared.
Looked like an invoice, didn't it? It was not. It was not an invoice. And the game getting the most plays this month features Artisan Dragons. They're smaller and magically talented versions of larger destructive cousins, which are sought by shopkeepers so that they may delight customers with their flamecraft. In the game, Flamecraft. Here you are a flame keeper, skilled in the art of conversing with dragons, placing them in their ideal homes and using enchantments to entice them to produce wondrous things. Your reputation will grow as you aid the dragons and shopkeepers, and the flame keeper with the most reputation will be known as the master of flamecraft.
Viewer Comment Chin advises, alert, here be dragons, and they are adorable. Time to break out the paints to make them even more cute. And Chris C. has been enjoying it ever since he received his Kickstarter edition and played a solo game. And Stephen Waffles admits, okay, look, I'm a sucker for a cute, pretty game, and while this is a lighter weight game, it does not disappoint. It's a quick teach and will be brought to the table often. Oh yeah, and the dragon minis are freaking adorable. So, look, the thing everyone's saying, and we all know, is it's adorable. It's super cute, and I kept hearing that. But I was also kind of waiting to hear, like, how's the gameplay? Does that, like, sort of live up to it? And I will say, Matthew, I have been starting to hear more and more talk about the gameplay, along with the cuteness, and I'm hearing positive things.
I've heard multiple people say, this has got some hidden strategic depth to it, which I'm finding a relief for me. That's what I would like in the game. And from what I understand is, because you're trying to build up reputation in the game, it means everyone's trying to do things that reputation comes from this village by making the village better, which means that the other players have options to get more reputation later on off your back because you made this place better. So you made this spot better, which means other players get to use a more powerful spot, which makes them up. And that's what I like about games like this.
Yes, that does sound intriguing. I think I saw a picture online, and the board looked like this giant, long tablecloth thing. It was not what I expected. It's like you could use it as a tablecloth, maybe. But is that where you're putting, I guess, assume, all of those locations that then people can go into and take advantage of, probably?
And as well, I think the spaces have to be quite large because these dragons kind of go into the different spaces. And I believe that once one of the space kind of resolves, the person who resolves it gets to use the action of all the dragons that made that space resolve. So there seems to be a level of, I want to make this better, but I don't want to make it too good because if someone else finishes it, they're going to get all of this stuff. It does sound interesting to me, and I definitely want to play it. Although I do like the idea, right, of someone in medieval times going to slay a mighty dragon, and then get in there. They've got their sword. They walk into the cave.
It's a cookie shop, and the dragon's just in there baking cookies, and you're like, oh. Would you like some cookies?
What's that sharp thing you're holding, mister? Oh, no.
I'm a horrible person. Well, I hope I wasn't too horrible, Matthew. We've done it. We got through the list again, and I don't appear to have gotten any notices that I've been fired.
Check your emails. I will say that that's a sampling of what our viewers have been playing this month. To see the games on our own personal radars, continue on to this month's On the Radar episode, or follow the link in the video's description to our Patreon to find out how to pick the games featured in next month's episode. And also there you can get access to our Discord server, which is a lot of fun. We'll see you over there. Thank you, Rodney, for being here, and we'll see you next time. Bye.